Live from the edge of the console bubble, it's the SOGOpod.
I'm Kinder.
I'm Frank.
And we're here to talk about video games making it sad and stuff.
Yeah.
Apparently that's a normal thing now.
We do that. You want to get sad about video games? Let's go ahead and jump right into this shit. Boom. Mario Run.
So what I'm gathering is Temple Run, but Mario.
Yeah, it's an endless runner. Get this. That features Mario.
Oh shit!
But thankfully, it's not a free-to-play thing. It is actually going to cost money, which assume that means there's no microtransactions as of right now.
Yeah. It's Nintendo.
It's Nintendo. Free. Well, yeah, but they've been doing this weird shit with their microtransactions and like their 3DS games, where it's like Rusty's Real Deal Baseball, where it's like that's a free-to-play game, but you got to pay money to keep playing it, but you talk the dog down, like you haggle with him.
Really?
Yeah, you do shit until you get the price down to like and there's a low floor that it can get to, but you're not paying like 99 cents every time. It'll start at like $5, and you have to haggle them down to like $2.50 or something, or even down to $1 or something like that. It's really just weird shit like that.
It's like Pawn Star. Nintendo is fucking Pawn Stars.
Yeah, they got an expert. They got a buddy they're gonna call it.
99 cents, best I can do.
Right. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. It was just weird seeing Shigeru Miyamoto on an Apple stage, announcing an exclusive game for the iPhone, which was not expected either, because they had already said, "Oh, we got new games coming, but there'll be an Animal Crossing and a Fire Emblem game," is what they said. Which I got a great idea for you right here. Here's the Animal Crossing experience that you put on the iPhone. Animal Crossing, New Leaf. Just fucking put it on the goddamn iPhone. It's that easy.
That would actually be a very
like
good
it.
game.
Well, yeah, Animal Crossing in general is like built for mobile.
Yeah.
You know, and being able to like go to other players physically in the real world space by like just on the same, like on your phone.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm near you. Let me, we'll trade information, or, just all over the world with, Wi-Fi and all the other shit, It's like it's made for that. It's also made for child molesters to get in there.
That's terrible. In other news,
also
still terrible.
Pokemon Go on the Apple Watch, which is exactly how you should want to play Pokemon Go, in my opinion, because pulling your phone out all the damn time makes you look like a damn idiot. Instead, you look at your watch like Dick Tracy, and I don't know.
You're Inspector Gadget.
That fucking iPhone's the dumbest damn thing ever. I'm going to get one. But, I mean, it's still dumb. Like, it's just, like, well, I probably won't get the 7. I never get the first iteration. I always get the S version. So I'll probably just stick with this one until the S comes out. Because there's really nothing to it. Like it's more powerful, of course, because that's how it always is.
Yeah.
And the Plus has 2 camera lenses on the back. Purpose.
For what purpose?
One is the wide angle lens, and the other one's a telephoto lens.
Oh.
So they made the zoom slightly better. So it involved making 2. And then they had like Johnny Ive do a little presentation where he's talking about how we carved the entire case out of... He's British, but for some reason he's turned French. We carved the entire case out of aluminum, and we powdered... We did a 3D polishing through a specialized compound and a single anodized layer with a single pigment dye to create this very blacker than black iPhone. So they have 2 black iPhones now. There's a black shiny iPhone, and there's a matte black iPhone. And then there's a black man. And then, of course, your standard other colors like gold, rose gold, and silver, and all that other stuff. So, and it looks pretty much exactly like the current iPhone design. Like, literally, like, no different.
Well, you know me. I really don't care.
Yeah. I mean, the Galaxy 7s are exploding. If you haven't heard.
Well, that was not Samsung's fault. No, it actually was. I forget what the battery vendor's name was because we heard about it. Some battery vendor fucked up big time.
It seems like it. These batteries are just fucking exploding.
Yeah, it was a really low percentage, but it was high enough that you're like, fuck.
So they were just like, fuck, everybody's sending their phone back.
Yeah. Thankfully, they're doing like a full replacement thing. So if you happen to have one, get on that now. They're doing free replacements with all vendors now.
Yeah, at least do it now because do Samsungs have removable battery packs?
I don't know if the new one does or not.
Okay.
I know some of the older ones did. Mine does.
I feel like phones like just have like went the way of the iPhone now. Oh, you can't get in this thing.
Yeah.
You're never allowed because they got to make them like water resistant and shit like that.
See,
you
I
can't
fucked
have
up
like
because I got the Note 5 and the newest Note. The one before mine, you could put an SD card in. I think you could take the battery out.
Mm-hmm.
Mine, you can't. And the next one, I know you can put an SD card in it, but I don't think you can take the battery out.
Yeah, the fact that they made a big deal in the commercials about the expandable memory makes me think, did they just get rid of it at some point for a little bit there?
Yeah,
like,
they
did they go
did
the
for this
Apple
gen.
route? Okay, yeah.
It was stupid. It's fucking stupid.
I mean, Apple needs to stop selling a 16 gigabyte iPhone. I can tell you that.
Yeah.
Like at this point, it's just like games are like a gig. Some of them games that are out there. So I mean, you need to stop selling a 16 gig iPhone. Like I did a total fresh install, and I am already like a good halfway through all the storage that I have.
Yeah.
And then, of course, like the way they cache things in certain apps, like the podcast app, will just cache every single thing you've listened to, so it can grow to a gigabyte in size, and there's no way to actually get rid of it.
Yeah.
Unless you do a complete reinstall of everything, which kind of defeats the purpose of having 16 gigabyte iPhone. Get rid of it. Apparently, the home button is going to be force sensitive now, so that can detect whether there's a disturbance in the force. If
why don't they just fucking add a back touch button? Why?
I don't know.
It's fucking dumb.
I feel like the back touch thing is just like
a back button, like a touch feedback.
No, this is
button.
fine. I mean, it does everything you want it to do.
This is fine. I just have to go home every time I want to do something.
Yeah, I mean, you can do this. I mean, I can multitask.
You have to fucking. You have to do the Metal Gear.
Go through and
you have to do the fucking Metal Gear like hold circle slightly to aim thing.
Yeah, but now I can do this. If I need to get to the top for some dumb reason. It's
fucking dumb.
iPhones have gotten very far on their one button. There's a lot of dumb shit you can do with it. Of course, like there's the Touch ID stuff, So like if I were to just do this and I can do my touch code, or I can just touch my.
I really don't care. This is an iPhone podcast. This is a video game podcast.
Well, this is a bull about video game. That they 2 games during that entire press conference. They talked about that Super Mario Run, as well as Pokemon Go, Temple Mario Run, as well as Pokemon Go
Mario
on
Run.
the Apple Watch, and I will never get an Apple Watch because I think it's the dumbest. I think any kind of smartwatch is dumb.
Yeah, they're pretty fucking.
But just because, like, I think conceptually, like, not having to pull my phone out of my pocket all the time every time it buzzes or beeps is cool. But not every single app has an Apple Watch equivalent, and so there could be other reasons to have to pull your phone out. Not to mention, without a Bluetooth headset, using it to make calls is pointless because then you still got to pull your phone out of your pocket. You can't send text with it, so there's another pointless feature. So yeah.
So there's that.
There's that. Now, or immediately after the Apple press conference was the Sony PlayStation meeting. Hey. I really wish they would call it a come to PS meeting. It worked better on text.
Yeah.
But
so yeah, the PS4 Pro is now on the horizon.
No longer the Neo, now the Pro. I wonder what next Matrix term they're going to steal for, because they had Project Morpheus, and now they had the PlayStation 4 Neo.
Trinity.
Trinity would have to be the most, or I mean, they could name one tank. I don't know.
I'm just waiting for
Cypher.
I was gonna say I'm just waiting for Cypher. Which one of them is Judas?
Right. Ghost. Oh God, let's not get into the sequels.
Fucking. So yeah, that's been.
I feel like Oracle will be one.
Yeah,
I feel like they will call one Oracle.
I think we had Oracle at some point. I don't know. Probably.
I think it's just because Oculus, Oracle.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, Morpheus, Oculus was already.
Yeah.
Kind of confusing. But yeah. Well, then they called the Vita was originally called the Orbis. I believe it was called Orbis? The Orbis. Was codename Orbis. So yeah, they do like their uses. Yeah, they didn't really talk about shit. They just talked about this PlayStation 4 Pro, which everybody knew about already. But
yeah,
well, really, everybody knew the Pro was coming, and Sony was not being coy about the Pro. Yeah. It was the Slim that literally everyone and their damn brother had one of these things somehow, was talking about it and reviewed it and did a breakdown of it and an unboxing, and Sony was still like, oh, it doesn't exist, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
But everybody knew the Slim was coming, so it was just one of those things, like, super dumb.
But, yeah, they talked about the Pro, and what the fuck? That, like, this conference makes no, this console makes no fucking sense.
Let me tell you about what's a bad idea. Well, here's a bad idea. Unveiling a 4K console on a low bit rate Twitch stream.
That too.
That's a dumb idea. Like, they said, oh, but after the conference you can download 4K files. Okay. And watch it where? On my 1080 display?
Yeah.
On my, maybe at the most 2K display? You know, like...
I mean, other people do have...
There are people
4K
who have 4K monitors that, you know, and they upscale to 4K, and they have people that, you know, have 4K TVs. Obviously, 4K TVs are more and more prevalent. Really, at this point, if you're in the market for a new HD TV, and you should probably upgrade, like, every, 5-6 years, maybe?
Something like that.
Yeah, because that's been kind of the track that I've been on. We had got one in 2010, and I just got one recently. So, you know, if you upgrade every 5-6 years, next thing you should have 4K. You know, because like if you got unlucky and landed in like the 2012 range of buying a TV, then you probably got stuck with a 3D TV that's completely useless now. But you know,
so this PS4K thing, the weirdest thing about it to me is that it doesn't have fucking 4K Blu-ray.
That one is a real shocker. I really assumed it was going to have that from the beginning, and because it's their platform, it's their media technology that they created.
You would fucking think that this console, because there's like no 4K content, like if you want 4K content, you gotta want 4K fucking Blu-rays.
You gotta get 4K Blu-rays. You gotta
pay for this fucking service that shows...
They fucking sell you. You know how that service works? They send you a motherfucking dongle.
Really?
That has the video file on it.
What the fuck?
Because it's too fucking much to stream over a pipe.
I thought it was
but
streaming.
There aren't pipes big enough. No. The only reason why it needs to connect to the internet is so they can verify that you got the dongle in the first place.
God damn.
The content's on the dongle.
That's so fucking retarded.
Yeah, it's it's because the only way it can work. But then it's like, I'm sure that even the best looking Netflix 1080p still doesn't look that great because of the issues with the compression.
Yeah. Well, a lot of time my Netflix will start off kind of like...
It'll always be blurry, and then it'll clear up pretty quickly. I mean, most things are like that, but, mine's won't clear up. Mine will get clear for a bit, and then when, like, the wind blows weird, it just goes south again, or just stops completely, you know.
I didn't know about the dongle thing. That's even worse.
That's just how that one service, I can't remember the name. I think it might be the Voodoo service that Walmart does, but I think that's the only one that I know of. But the other one now, they did announce that by the end of the year, Netflix will have over 600 hours of 4K footage. Which I wonder if it's going to be like the beginning stages of HDTVs, where it's just like, hey, look at this volcano.
Yeah.
You know, like look how awesome it looks in HD. It's like I can't imagine like what they. I mean, they just say like, oh, the second season of Narcos is 4K, and Luke Cage will be entirely in 4K, which is pretty cool. But at the same time, it doesn't justify a $400 console. Granted, I mean, if you play on a PC like you and I do, there is nothing that justifies a $300 console. Yeah. I mean, outside of like the living room experience, but even PCs are getting better in that front, you know.
The thing about it though is that we know for a fact that this hardware cannot push 4K games, and I saw a few other things too where apparently that was clarified as well.
Oh yeah. They went straight up and said, it's upscaling. Yeah. Because they're not. There's no way they can sell a box for $400 that's going to be native 4K. Right. It's going to output it today. It's going to upscale to 4K, and it'll probably look really good. Yeah. I mean, let's face it. 1080 looks really good already. Yeah. Let's not get too fucking like. I would be really amazed if the PlayStation 4 could hit 1080 normally, because some games are only 900 and they still only are 30 frames a second. Like.
Yeah.
Granted, the developers are getting better and better at using the hardware, but,
That's the thing, though. Like, every TV has an onboard upscaler. So if you have a 4K TV...
It's going to be upscaled.
It's going to be fucking upscale.
Yeah, your TV's doing it already.
I mean, maybe the PlayStation has a little bit better upscaler, but that really doesn't matter unless you're using, like, old consoles.
I mean, maybe there's an issue with, like... maybe doing it in the box alleviates like controller lag, like maybe that millisecond lag you might get from the processing or whatever. Or maybe like if it does have that upscaler, maybe it's cleaner if it's coming through, the signal is coming out as 4K as opposed to going in as 1080 and being upscaled by the TV. Maybe there might be some loss there that they're trying to counteract, and this is a cleaner way of doing it. That's possible. I don't know. If you're just going to be upscaling, it's still kind of pointless. Also, I don't know why it's got to be a fucking like 12-foot tall box.
Yeah,
like
this thing is huge.
Yeah, like,
it does have some hardware improvements, but nothing that really screams.
And then they already said like the big thing that they were really pushing and everything outside of the 4K was the HDR stuff, and the PlayStation 4 is just going to get an update that makes it HDR compliant.
Yeah.
Okay, these bright lights will be brighter, these blacks will be blacker.
Yeah.
Like.
So really, the only reason that I see at all for this thing is for PSVR, and apparently PSVR is supposed to work with the original PS4. So what the fuck is it for? Who is this system for? Why did you make this,
you would think
Sony?
that the box would have the stuff that they put in that little breakout box for the PS4, but apparently it doesn't. So again, you have to buy place. I mean, yeah, I don't know what it's for. Sense. I think it's just there as like a stopgap. It's like it's their version of the S. They want to make you think the Slim's their version of the S, but it's not. The Pro's their version of the S.
Yeah.
And whatever they have coming next will be the real jump. And it's the same thing that Microsoft's doing. The S isn't the next generation of the Xbox. The S is just a stopgap until they make the next generation of Xbox, which is the Scorpio.
That's not to say that the S was completely justified either.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, really the S is just it's the slimmer version of the Xbox that has a little bit better certain things, a little bit better hardware. We know what the system is for. We know
really it's just there for 4K Blu-rays and HDR. Okay.
Yeah, and it actually
has a 4K Blu-ray player in it, even though it's a Microsoft console, and Sony didn't. But and it's $100 less than the PlayStation 4 Pro.
Yeah, so what the fuck? I don't understand.
Well, for the 1 terabyte version, right? Yeah. The 2 terabyte was $400.
I think so.
Yeah. So still though, that's $100 difference.
Yeah, I have no idea what this console is for at all.
I don't think Sony does either. They just had to announce it because they'd already leaked out.
Yeah.
Like they just had no real idea. This is I mean, maybe they're putting it out. They're putting it out to take that step with the developers, maybe to give them baby steps, essentially.
Maybe
because we saw how hard of a time they had with the big launch. Like even though they're saying these things are just PCs, you just make a fucking game in the PC and then you port it over to the PlayStation 4 and Xbox, and it works perfectly. Arkham Knight, like. We were sold a bill of goods on that already when they told us that these are just PCs. Oh, it'd be easy. Console porting's a thing of the past, Yeah. It's like, no, it's not. You still haven't figured it out.
Yeah.
Because there's still a wide array of graphics cards out there, and you have companies like NVIDIA that make deals with certain developers that shoehorn shitty services in the games that don't need them, and also you have other issues like just the wide variety. And there's also the gamers themselves who think, well, I mean, I still got this card that's like 10 years old, and it works fine. I just have to turn everything to low, and, it looks like a 96 Pixar movie, but okay, like that's what they want. And that is an issue too. So you do have people like, he's with No Man's Sky too. Like people be like, "Oh, this game doesn't run." Like, well, look at your specs, dude. You're talking about like, why isn't my onboard hardware enough to handle this game? It looks so tiny. Like there's a lot of shit going on.
No Man's Sky was a bad example.
It's a bad example, but when they put out specs and you're not meeting the minimum specs, you can't complain, like you can't complain about the game not working. They told you this is what you should have, and you don't have that. Granted, I had more than the minimum specs, and it ran. It didn't run well. Now it runs great. They did a lot of they've patched that game a shitload since the game out. Like they've had like 4 patches.
I refunded the shit.
They even went so far as to put a thing on the page saying there are no special refunds for this game. So I'm assuming that there was like some weird. It was flagged funny or something in their system for a bit there because everybody.
I got a fucking refund.
Yeah,
I was able to, and I had more time than I should have.
Yeah, I don't know. I had it. you know, I have it still. I haven't rerun it or anything. I mean,
I'm sorry.
It's good. It's exactly what I wanted from that game, so I don't have any druthers about it. You know, I'm not.
We already had this conversation.
I know, but I feel like it's like I didn't trash it. I was.
You did too.
I think that there's a lot of shit there that needs to be, and it's still not worth $60. Anyone out there listening? But I think it's a perfectly fine game and just needs a price cut down to like $20.
I'll tell you what. Now that they've patched it, and if they add some, some more
when
cool shit,
I'll let you know.
By the fucking way. I'll try to avoid spoiling. But have you seen the ending? The end of the universe?
I have not.
You are going to hate yourself.
I already am sure that it just restarts you at the fucking beginning of the game and sends you back through. Like, I'm fairly sure that's exactly what happens because that's the game that they made. Like, I don't expect it to be like, oh, Peter Molyneux steps out of the cube and says, oh, you get to share in the profits from all of the next games. Goddess, you are the god. Like, I don't expect that. I just expect it to be a game that starts over again. Woohoo. Yeah.
Spoilers.
Yeah, well, I'm pretty sure anybody who cares has played the game enough. I mean, when I started, like, at first I was like, God, this game really is kind of fucking boring. But then I was like, well, fuck, I'm just going to start jumping. I had like 3 or 4 warp cells, like, piled up. And got to the point now where, like, and then, like, that's when shit just started fucking popping. Like, all of a sudden, like, the story shit started fucking... I flew into a fucking... And this minor spoilers for anybody out there who cares. But I jumped, and there's this fucking big-ass, like, Dyson sphere surrounding the sun of the fucking solar system I was in. And I flew into it, and that's where I finally met the 2 fucking people that have been messaging you the whole game. And it was like, okay, now it's going... And then immediately next Star System up to had one of the Atlas structures at it where it was all fucking crazy and like fucking 2001 A Space Opera kind of shit. Like, it fucking started popping off, and then I jumped again and it's back to being No Man's Sky for a bit. Like, if you just don't play the game like you think you should play the game, it's pretty good, but still not worth $60.
Yeah.
But way off track. Maybe that'll run better on PS4. I don't know. PS4 Pro. It actually ran pretty good on PS4, but because they had the Sony's QA team QA and the shit out of that game for PS4, but nobody bothered to say, hey, should we test this graphics card configuration with this CPU configuration? Nah.
Yeah, it'll work.
Computers are computers.
Also, we got a release date on the new Dark Souls 3 DLC.
Oh, yes. August 29th. It's October something. I don't know. I still haven't played Dark Souls 3.
You saw it?
I still haven't played it.
Hang on. Let me find that real quick. But I really don't know what to expect from it. I saw some of the footage from it, and it looks... There's some really interesting stuff. I watched some Vati Video stuff. By the way, shout out to Body Video. We requested him for an interview. He couldn't make it, but he was really, really cool and respectful about it. And had a little conversation with me via email. Really cool guy. You should go watch his videos. He's very popular.
You still check out Old Man Afro, who apparently hates Vati Video.
Apparently. I messaged Afro again, too. He never responded. He probably... he's a busy guy.
He's a busy guy.
He's a depressed guy.
Isn't everyone on the internet?
This is very true. I got sidetracked looking for this fucking release date. Ashes of Andriel. That's the name of the DLC. And blah blah blah. Developers. Cut this out. Developers.
Okay.
Dark Souls DLC Ashes of Andriel will be released October 25th, 2016. Mark your calendars, bitches. Don't know how much that is going to cost, but if you got the super duper edition,
did it have
Dark
like
Souls,
a season pass kind of thing?
I think it did.
Okay.
I don't know if my special edition had it with it or not. I know.
Well, the special edition of the collector's edition, rather, of Battlefield 1 didn't come with the game.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
What the? Why?
It's $100 collector's edition, game not included.
What does it come with?
Probably a statue. I don't fucking know.
I wonder how many people ordered this thinking they were getting the game.
I don't know. But, I mean, I think the reasoning why, and I think Chris Antista on the Video Game Apocalypse, another great podcast you should listen to, mentioned that it was like, if you look at just, like, moment those collector's editions are released, they're fucking on Amazon for, like, a third of the price, and you can just scoop them up. So they're just like, you know what, instead of basically, like, eating this cost, we'll just get the $60 out of them that we wanted to get out of them, and also charge for the collector's edition, which is going to be discounted by, like, 30% by the end of the year anyway. You know, so I figure that's what they're doing. I did play 5 minutes of the Battlefield 1 beta. It's a really pretty game.
I heard a lot of people say that.
It's very pretty. Like, it's just like, it's just, I just can't play a fucking Battlefield game. Like, I want to play a shooty shoot game, but I decided to just start playing Fallout 4 again.
Overwatch.
I did get to play a little bit of Overwatch.
You did?
Yeah, I was over at Alan, my cousin's house, and his brother Judson has moved in and had his PC with him, and they had bought Overwatch, and I got to play a little bit of it finally. Sit down and play it. Yeah,
it's fucking fun. God damn it!
I just can't. I don't have the internet for it. I mean, I could probably do it if I stay up till like 2:00 every morning, because that's when my internet gets good. Like, it's funny. Like, I'll tell you, here's how it is. Like, I was downloading. I'm still downloading Metal Gear Solid 5. That's how bad it is. Let me tell you that.
Started downloading at launch.
I started. No, it's not that bad. Started downloading last night, but I had to pause it for some reason. Or I'd accidentally closed out of it, or paused it to do something else with my internet. So I paused it, but I forgot to cut it back on overnight. So I started up this morning, and it was like 12 hours remaining. And this is like. And then I came back.
You pull out your Phantom cigar.
Yeah, exactly. And then I came back this afternoon around 1, and it was still 12 hours remaining. But let me tell you this. Like, you know how it tells you, like, peak and current thing? So I can tell you the peak was only, like, 500 kilobytes a second. Yeah. But the peak, when I let it go overnight one time, this is when I was downloading Fallout 4, 5 megabytes a second.
Oh, 5 whole megabytes.
Yeah, let me tell you about it. God, I fucking hate it.
Steam is weird, though, because I have 60 down, or like I'm supposed to have 60 down. I normally get about 75 down, but I peak at like sometimes 12 or so. And I don't know why it does that. It just fucking does. With it peaking out like that, even though my internet speed's so fast.
I think that could be something on their end. But there is like multiple servers, and you can actually select server locations too. And sometimes they stick you on a weird random one in like Australia, and you're like, I've
gone through all that and gotten the nearest server and all. I think I'm like on a New York one or something.
Yeah, they need one like in Nortown,
right?
They need to go the route of like Netflix. You know what they do, instead of like having like data centers, they actually just put a box at like your ISP that has all of their content loaded onto it.
Jesus.
So that it's just quicker for you to get access to it.
That is brilliant. You know? I mean, it works.
And it works, yeah. And of course, you had all that stuff with the whole net neutrality thing. And if anything, like, people were like, oh, the corporations fucking fast lanes and shit like that. It's like, well, the internet's already not the same, and you don't want it to be the same. Like, I don't want the theoretical doctor who has to perform an open heart surgery with a robot from the other side of the world to be on the same internet as the douchebag watching Netflix in the lobby.
Yeah.
You know, like,
we do need to. We need our infrastructure to be fixed.
Well, the infrastructure needs to be fixed big time, and also we need to actually just provide broadband internet to the entire country, come hell or high water.
Yeah.
You know, it should just be a basic human right in this country, especially because of the fact we have like shit education, and at least let people learn from the internet.
Yeah.
You know, especially in those areas that don't have good internet. Weirdly enough, the education's lower in the areas where they don't have good internet. Wonder why? Because they also don't have good infrastructure of anything.
Yeah.
You know.
Anyway, we're approaching the half-hour mark, so we're going to take a break, and we'll come back with new Pokemon news.
Would you like to play a game of hide and seek now? If you have X-ray eyes, please promise not to peek now. Well, first we count to 10, and then we'll have some fun now. Or will you fly away before we count to 1 now?
SOGOpod, everybody. So we had a new dump of Pokemon information today as well.
More
it's been a big day.
Pokemon. They've just been dumping this shit irregularly. You know, was there anything at the Nintendo Direct that they did recently? I guess we could talk about that too. They did a 3DS Nintendo Direct. Yeah. They're talking about what they're gonna use to finish out the year because they have nothing else to talk about until they actually officially announce the NX.
So there is a before we get into Pokemon, we'll talk about that. So Mario Maker confirmed for 3DS, which is fucking great news.
Until they took out all the reasons to play Mario Maker.
Right. There is no online level sharing. The entire fucking point.
Which, I mean, if I bought Mario Maker 3DS and you bought Mario Maker 3DS,
still
we could share with each other.
Yeah.
And apparently it does pull levels into the 100 Mario Maker 100 Mario Challenge that they have. It does pull levels from the Wii U version of it. Of course, the ones that are compatible. Apparently, there's reasons that it's not. Their versions are some levels are not compatible, which I assume it might be entirely based around the amiibo costumes that are present in the Wii U version,
maybe.
And also the weird, crazy extra costumes that they include through these levels. Like there's a fucking Baby Metal costume. There's a fucking Hatsune Miku costume. Yeah, they fucking go all out with that shit in that game. That's fucking amazing. So I mean, really, it's don't buy Wii U ever, but buy Wii U for Mario Maker.
Yeah,
like it's entirely and that's literally the only reason why I bought a Wii U was for Mario Maker. That game is totally worth the money just because it's an infinite game with infinite replayability. If you feel like playing Mario, fuck it, let's play some Mario.
Yeah. It's Happy Wheels Mario. I mean, it really...
Yeah, exactly. But the whole main reason I have it, I think it's something that they needed to do anyway. And I think, they're taking these steps with these, they did it with Smash Brothers. They made a Smash Brothers for DS, and they made a Smash Brothers for the Wii U. And they made, they have Mario Maker, and then they also have that Yoshi's Island game, which is or the new Yoshi's Woolly World. They also have one coming out for the 3DS that's exactly the same as the Wii U version, except it also has some extra stuff in it. So they're taking those steps to say, hey, look, we can develop the same game for two separate consoles, which is exactly what they're going to be doing with the NX. They're just going to be making the same game. I mean, if you want to talk about upscalers, let's talk about the NX. I'm really excited for it. I'm excited for every new Nintendo console, no matter how many times I've been burned by them.
Yeah.
We all know in retrospect that the last good Nintendo console was the GameCube. So, if you think about it too, it's true. They had third-party support with the GameCube.
Yeah.
There was a lot of cross-platform games that came out on all three, PlayStation 2, Xbox, and GameCube. And the ones that didn't come to GameCube were not...
Big losses,
yeah. It had everything you could want, and then it also had 4 players built in, all that shit. They had it there. And you would think the Wii, for them, huge success. For the rest of the gaming world, not so much.
Yeah.
Because it couldn't move software. The Wii U's problem is the entire lack of third-party support. The Wii U had third-party support in the sense that third parties were using it for shovelware and just throwing whatever crap they could on there because it was a crap port machine that they just threw shit on. And and the Wii U just doesn't even have that.
Yeah.
People just, every publisher released, one game at, the launch. And they saw what the numbers were like, and they were like, yeah, it's not worth it.
Nah.
I'm not going to worry about that. Not even Ubisoft kept going. Of all companies, Ubisoft was like, not so much. The NX has the opportunity to still, I believe with the architecture that they have planned, they could hit basically PlayStation 4 level graphics, and if they can make it in a portable format, that's good too. I think again though, if they have the entire first party development from both the handheld and console on a single platform now, you don't need third parties.
Yeah.
You have a huge array of amazing games to play just from Nintendo alone.
Yeah. And here's what I'm hoping they do. I'm hoping that they gear more towards the handheld option, because Nintendo as a console, yeah, but Nintendo as a handheld, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that they're finally getting the touchscreen gimmick out of the way, because I don't think I've seen anything about a touchscreen with this. Plus, not to mention, like, Breath of the Wild is the closest thing we have to the idea of what an NX game is.
Yeah.
And it is, that touchscreen is completely non-functional in that new Zelda game. So we at least know the reason for it existing, you know. Like, we can just say, yeah, it's not going to be a touchscreen game when it comes out, so we can assume the NX doesn't have a touchscreen.
Yeah, and I don't mind the touchscreen on the DS. It has its uses, you know, certain things.
Yeah,
But
I think you know,
it.
I mean, it's like at this point, like when it first came out, it was like 2 screens and a touch. How am I supposed to pay attention to everything? And it's like, it works fine.
Yeah,
Like, everybody just got over that. That's not an issue anymore. And then with the Wii U, like, there are some games just like, yeah, I don't know what you want, how you expect me to pay attention to these 2 screens that are very far apart.
yeah.
There are some games that are like that, but otherwise, it's not so bad, you know.
But yeah, fucking Mario Maker on the 3DS. I really don't like that you can't level share on it. I kind of get it, but if they can somehow work it out to where there's a console, a Wii U sharing, and then there's the DS, 3DS sharing for that, fucking.
I mean, if they could,
Well,
I mean,
it'd be perfect.
if they
10
could,
out of
like,
10.
yeah, and that's the thing. They need to, they had to make this step to make the next step, I guess.
Yeah.
You know, like, they had to say, well, we're going to iterate on this idea, even if it's only a slight iteration. But I do think removing functionality was like a weird.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe it's just a failing of the hardware. I don't know. Maybe there just wasn't enough reason for it. Maybe it's on their side with the servers. You know, maybe the servers couldn't take the load of. There's a lot of 3DSs out there, you know, and if you assume that even a quarter of those owners bought that game, that already outsells the Wii U version, and that was one of the best-selling Wii U games they have, you know. Same with
Definitely
Splatoon,
gonna buy
you know.
it. I'm hoping that they make enough off of it to see there is a shit ton of potential here, and then, you know, upgrade servers.
I mean, they could always, like, create some kind of workaround, you know, like maybe some kind of, like, connect to your Wi-Fi, and then it loads into a thing where you could then port them to the Wii U or something. And there's a cool feature they did add, like collaborative level building, where, you know, me and you could both have the game, and then you could make a level and then give it to me, and then I could then build on that level and then give it back to you, and you could then build on it, and you can create some weird, crazy, like, ultimate chicken horse style shit. Like, oh, you try to get through this. You know, and, like, I think that could be cool. But at the same time, it's like they're building these games for Japan, you know, where everybody has a 3DS and they're all sitting on a subway for 6 hours a day, you know, and they're like cramped into each other, and it's like it's real easy to do that kind of ad hoc shit, but doing it in America is nigh impossible. You know, they're not gonna. This is not gonna be a Pokemon Go style smash hit for them, and even with Pokemon Go, like, you don't need anybody else to play that game, you know? You just happen to be other people that happen to be playing it in the same area, and you might be on the same team, and you might take a gym together or something, but without, like, trading and other shit like that they still haven't added into the game, and all the other shit they still haven't done, and they just keep. I haven't played that game in, like, a month. Like, maybe more, just because, like, it's just, like, no.
There's not really much of a point after the first little bit.
Yeah, and not to mention, like, if you haven't been playing, you're just not gonna have any chance. Yeah, you know, like, just to get up there to the same level as everybody else. And if you're not constantly going to Pokestops, you run out of Pokeballs, and you have to spend money. And somebody made a good point. It was Pat Bear on the Giant Beast Cast. Again, another great podcast you should listen to. I'm sure everybody does already. He was talking about how, like, it just makes sense from a free to play perspective to not worry about what everybody wants. The only people you need to worry about pleasing are the people who are going to spend money. Yeah. So if you're making the people who aren't spending any money unhappy by not giving people a way to get Pokeballs without going to living near a bunch of Pokestops, by making creatures harder to catch even though they're low level shitty Zubats and stuff like that, and they still pop out of your Pokeball, if you quit playing, it's no loss to them because you didn't spend any money.
Yeah.
You know, but I'm sure there's probably some algorithm in there that shows, oh, he spent $20. We should incentivize him to spend $20 again.
Yeah.
Without pissing him off. You know, like the smart free to play style thing. You know, I don't know. I think Pokemon Go is a perfectly fine game, but they need to hurry up and get some shit going for it. Otherwise, it's just going to be like...
It's had a major drop-off here lately.
Yeah, exactly. And it's because of all the dumb shit they did, like not fixing tracking and not, you know...
Yeah.
Like, not doing any of that stuff, like, completely killed the game for everybody.
Yeah. Speaking of drop-off, we may get to this at the end of the episode if we're not to talk about, but VR has had a major drop-off.
Yeah. We should probably just go and talk about that now because it is kind of related tangentially to what we've been talking about.
Yeah. So they had, I think, both Oculus and HTC, or what is the other one called? Vive.
Vive, yeah. HTC
both
Vive.
Oculus and Vive have seen like 3% growth compared to what they did have.
Yeah,
it's just ridiculously bad numbers. Just like
they haven't done anything to
right
give anybody an incentive to buy one.
Yeah.
You know,
I haven't touched mine in
even
a month.
even the commercials for like the closest thing to a consumer level VR you can get, which is like the Gear VR, have fallen off. You know, now it's just used as like, look at this fool and his money. Yeah. You know, like that's what they use it in. Like in commercials, it's like this guy has a VR headset because he spends money. You know, like that's like the extent of it. It's like the sign of luxury and you know, shit like that.
At this point, it's just, you know, something else in my collection.
Yeah.
I mean, I really haven't used it at all.
Right, yeah. And I'm sure there's stuff out there, but like they're also charging like full price for these. These are just experiences. Like these aren't full-fledged games, and PSVR is going to have a uphill battle because the reasoning was, I assume, especially when we were talking about it, but we assumed that Sony's reasoning for coming out so late was because the market could be created, you know, so that Oculus could get out there and Vive could get out there and everybody could get hyped for it. But I don't think they saw this drop off like this shortly after release coming. So now they've really backed off talking about the PSVR, and that is coming out next month.
Yeah.
You know, like it's a month away from release, and they didn't talk about a single bit of PlayStation VR at that conference. They didn't talk about anything to do with that. They didn't show a picture. They didn't reiterate pricing specs, talk about how the Pro works with it. Nothing. Just... You know, here's your PlayStation VR.
And I don't know whether to think there's something up with it or if they just see that there's a drop-off and nobody cares. I don't know. Yeah,
which, again, it's got to suck for them because they probably put a lot of money into it. And, you know, maybe the developers that are... I hope the developers that have games that come out make their money on it and come out good on the other end, you know. I hope that the people that do buy it buy everything that they can for it. You know, and not just stick with, like, the VR Worlds demo. You know, if VR Worlds is really good and, you know, Wii Sports the fucking PSVR, then good on them. Then they can sell a shitload of copies because everybody's like, oh, just play the fucking pack in. Like, buying a Wii was... You had to buy Wii Sports, you know, because you got Wii Sports with it. You know, you have to play Wii Sports. Like, that's the thing to play with the Wii. So maybe if VR Worlds for... PlayStation VR or something like that, maybe, but I doubt it.
I mean, they need a killer app.
Yeah.
Any VR needs a killer app.
Yeah. And then none of them had them. Yeah. Even the games that came packed in, you would think but none of them created that experience. The closest thing to that experience was not even a game that's even out yet, was that Oculus, like, toy room or whatever they called it or something like that.
Something like that.
They still haven't actually released that, and that looked like the coolest thing you could do with this thing.
And Oculus Touch is fucking... And that's... Where?
Yeah, where's that at?
I mean, I'm still going to get it, but where the fuck is it? I mean, goddamn.
Yeah. And the Vive, like, at least seems like... Again, because of Valve's, like, very laissez-faire attitude about their games market, at least the Vive has a healthy, you know... healthy assortment of games out there because of how Steam is, you know, and how their system is set up. Like, it's just as simple as making your game VR and putting it on Steam, just like you would make any other game, you know? Like, so that works. I mean, maybe we have to wait for games like Fallout 4 VR and Doom VR to come out to really, like, show what this.
I'm surprised nobody's put the original Doom in VR.
Yeah, well, you can't look up and down in Doom, so.
True.
I've seen Quake in VR, which that seems like it'd be pretty cool.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I just say I mean, maybe it was price. I don't know.
A big part was price.
A big part of it was price. I guess that might have been the big thing. But even then, like, the Vive was more expensive, right? The Vive was like $800.
Yeah.
And the
Oculus Rift was $599 US dollars. $599 US dollars.
But, you know, the Vive also came with, like, more shit. It had already had, like, the touch-style controllers. It already had the full-room VR, which they said the Oculus will or can be able to do at some point in the future, you know. Like, because when they were showing off, like, the current iteration of the final build, like, it doesn't have any of the front sensor things, but they were showing off, like, in DK2, they had a front sensor array on it, you know, but I don't know why they got rid of that, or maybe that's an attachment they're going to sell later.
I don't fucking know.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's a weird thing for it to drop off that fast. I mean, I kind of almost saw it coming, especially after I got one and experienced it myself.
Yeah.
But, you know, it saddens me that it happened. If
it's kind of, again, it's what you would expect, though, right?
I mean, if they do anything to make it better, you know, if Touch comes out and there's like an assortment of a couple of games that are really good that you can get into, like Overwatch or something, then I'll hop on board and push it all I can because I want it to happen. Yeah.
And I feel like it's like they have an idea, though they didn't have an idea for a platform, they had an idea for a device, and they hoped that everything would come to the platform, or to the device rather, and not, but they didn't actually think it through, you know? They just sort of said, well, VR's got to happen. VR's a thing. We got to make it a thing, you know? Yeah. And you would think with all the hype that was surrounding it before its release, but I mean, maybe that's probably hype in general. Like,
yeah, I mean, that's
talked about hype before with No Man's Sky, you know, like the hype was huge, and then when it came out, like, you have the people, like, and this is something, again, I'm still working on that thing I was writing, but, you know, work got all weird. So, but the thing is, you get to a point where you're so hyped for it that all you can think about are the things that you expect to be able to do, and then when you actually get your hands on the thing, all you want to do is push it immediately to that boundary, but it's like, you can't do that. It just can't do what you think it's going to do. Like, everybody thinks, oh, I'm going to put this headset on, I'm going to feel like I'm in another world, and I put it on, I was like, oh, why doesn't it detect me when I'm leaning to the side, you know? Like, why isn't it moving like I move, you know? Like,
the way I think of it is they kind of did a thing where it would be like making a smartphone with some cool new capability, but not having a competent OS for it, or having a lackluster OS that can't compete with like iOS or Android.
Yeah.
They pulled a Windows phone.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, well,
it's got the brightest screen, the sharpest image, but
they literally had like the best
nothing is
camera.
coming out for it. There's not even a Twitter app, you know, like like that level of shit.
Yeah,
like, where Microsoft had to go out of their way to make the Facebook app because Facebook wouldn't do it. Yeah. You know, like that's kind of what it is. Yeah, I mean, and that's, speaking of Facebook, like, that's their shit, and all they're putting more on the Facebook website with like Facebook Live and making the 3D video shit like more readily available to people who just have a phone, you know, like, and like, even that shit's getting more and more accessible, so maybe the Oculus will become more accessible in the same way, but you won't get, like, you'll get 360 video, but you won't get, like, 3D with depth of field and everything. You know? You'll just be able to be in an Oculus headset looking at a 360 video, which is lackluster. That's not VR. That's cool, I guess, but I can do that with my phone, you know, and I can do that. It's like, it's no different than the Google Cardboard looking at Street View. It's cool. Like, I can just look around this place in Street View. Oh, awesome. It's just, there's no depth to it, though. I'm looking at a bunch of pictures, you know? Like, Encarta Encyclopedia was really cool. We've done this before, though, you know? Like, I don't know. It's tough. I think I do still believe that the PlayStation VR has the opportunity to be the consumer-friendly version, like, that step up. Like, the Gear VR is the entry level, like, hey, you can get this motherfucker for free when you buy a phone, you know, and it just any Samsung phone will fit into it, and that's an easy thing for people to get into. And then when they feel like, I want to spend some money on it, but I don't want to drop $600 on my computer's shitty and all that stuff. But I have a PlayStation 4 and this PlayStation VR is only $350, and okay, let's do that. And then you get to have your friends over for a few drinks and ride a fake roller coaster, and then go, and then like everybody has fun, and then you kind of put it away, like the Wii. You know? Like, I don't know. I just, not to mention like VR is completely incompatible with parental life.
Yeah.
If you are anybody who is in a serious relationship, if you're married and you have kids, you can't put a fucking thing on your head for an hour and disappear. Like, you just can't do that.
Yeah.
So like so that's an entire market that's not getting that entire that.
And what sucks is that's the people that have money,
Exactly.
The people that have the money to buy this can't use it, and unless your parents buy it for you for Christmas or something,
Right,
then you really don't have time to sink you have playing with an Oculus is not like sitting down and playing a game. It's something you have to commit to.
Right.
You have to commit to playing. I'm going to play this Oculus. I pretty much have to set up fucking time limit on myself.
Yeah.
Whereas, you playing a game, you can get up and go get a drink, whatever.
You can pause it. You can go. You can
you
play it
can
on your
pause.
TV and have other people watch you, so you don't feel like you're, distancing yourself or whatever. But like, that's the entire point of VR, is to have a virtual reality and to be in a fucking computer.
Yeah.
You can't do that when you have kids running around, when you have a wife and all that other stuff, unless you set out that specific time for that. In which case,
it's literally like jacking in.
Yeah. And if we got to the point where it was more like easy to do that, and there is like somebody made, I want to say it was IBM, I don't know, one of these big tech companies made a wireless VR headset. Like, everything that would power it and everything is in the headset itself. That's one step in the right direction. I believe if Oculus is successful enough for them to make another iteration, it'll probably be wireless.
Yeah.
It'll probably be the exact same guts on the inside, maybe a more higher res screen, but it'll be wireless. Because that's the next, especially with Vive. Like, imagine having those cords trailing behind you and you have the full room VR experience. Like, how are you supposed to do that?
Yeah, those cords are fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, exactly. When you got a fucking like Avatar fucking thing running down the back of your head to for all the wiring and shit, and you're gonna get tangled up in it, tripped up in it. Like,
I mean, you look like Predator.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, I don't know. I still don't know who VR is for. And I don't think that the people who make the VR headsets know who VR is for. They just assume people want VR.
I mean, it's for a very niche group of tech enthusiasts.
Yeah. And I feel like it had a lot of, I think we've seen the potential. I don't think that there's any more potential to squeeze out of these things. I think now it's up to the developers to create a reason, because like, we know what these things can do,
Yeah. I mean, the tech can go a little further. Tech can always go further.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. We do need a killer app. We don't have that.
Yeah. And like the games that came out that everybody's like, this is the reason to have VR. Even those are just like, those aren't real reasons to have VR. Yeah. Like, Valkyrie is not a $600 game.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. You got to pay for the headset to get that game. So it's cool. It's cool. Like, I liked it. I thought it was interesting.
I mean, I really like it. And I totally want everyone to try it. Everyone should try it, but don't pay $600 to try it.
I kind of like, the idea of like something like Elite Dangerous in it. Like, I'm in a cockpit and I'm looking around and I have to look around and activate stuff with my actual hands, and then maybe have like a HOTAS in front of me at the same time, especially if you get it set up in the same way.
Even Valkyrie could have been, Valkyrie is a mediocre game.
Yeah.
But take those mechanics, add a story mode and like some shit to it and make an actual game. It could have been really good.
Yeah.
And they just fucking didn't try.
There's some really cool like multiplayer experiences out there, and like there's really cool like I think horror games really need to hurry up and start coming out for the systems, because there's like that's a reason to get them right there, you know. Like something like Dread Halls is cool, but it's not the right kind of horror, you know. Like it just needs to be a little bit more like just push the boundaries, you know. Like that fucking AR Night Terrors game is still out there looking fucking dope as shit, you know.
It looks terrifying. I don't want it.
Like I can't imagine like that is
play
something
it at someone else's house.
Yeah, I'd have to play it. Like I would want to play that in like
imagine playing that in a graveyard and shit.
God, yeah, like if it can like detect your presence and figure out where things like. Because, like, there's things in there I'm just like, that doesn't, like, I don't know how much of this is real or how much you're going to actually be able to pull off. Because, like, you know, if the AR is not good enough, it is going to be like Pokemon Go and AR. It's like, oh, look at that Rattata. He's the size of a bus.
Yeah.
Or he's as small as a quarter. Like, and he's, you know, looks like he's kind of just in front of everything instead of on top of it or whatever. If they can... you know, figure that stuff out, then, But I would assume you would need, like, some kind of depth.
You have to do a walkthrough of your house before you can play it.
Yeah, that makes sense, yeah. And if you don't do it completely right, something gets fucked up or whatever. It's like when you try to do a panorama with your phone, and you'd fuck up, and then you got, like, half a dude over here, and the other half's over there, and it's like, I feel like...
moving on to Pokemon before we run out of time.
Pokemon.
So we got some new information on Pokemon. We got a Dark Rattata, a Dark Raticate.
Yes.
Raticate looks stupid.
Yeah, big puffy cheeks. Looks like he's going a long way.
Okay. New waifu alert. We have 2 new waifus confirmed. One I don't
remember their names. One's blonde with long weird hair, and the other one has big old titties.
Yeah, we got a new Pokemon.
Yeah.
And she's instantly became a meme.
Yeah.
We also found out the leader for Team Skull. He's some guy, pretty generic. I still love Team Skull. They still seem like the best team.
It's weird that there's like they didn't have separate teams on any of the DS ones, did they?
Team Plasma was on. No, that was. I don't fucking remember.
It was really like the Game Boy ones. They had like the one game had one team, one game had the
Team
other
Aqua,
one.
Team Magma.
Yeah.
Fucking shit. What was the last team? I can't even remember. I don't know. Not that memorable. Yeah. It's been so long since I played through a Pokemon game. What else was confirmed in the new ones? Type Null.
Type Null is the name of the Pokemon, and he's a normal type, which I assume just means he can be any type really. On top of that, sort of like Arceus, you know, just sort of like, you know, he's whatever you want him to be, you know.
There was also a fucking sandcastle. Did you see that one?
Yeah, that's been out there for a while, but it's like, it's just weird. Like,
I mean, it's weird. It might turn out.
I mean, cool. At least the design looks good, you know. It doesn't just, like I said, my main problem with Pokemon lately, where, you know, a lot of the old designs was, here's an animal, we put weird circles all over it, you know, like...
We don't have any show notes right now, so we don't have the fucking names of these things.
And then there's just another one of those weird circle animals that I was talking about. They announced finally. It's like, hey, what is he supposed to be? He just looks like a thing.
What was it? Ulti-type or ultra?
Well, that was the Ultra Beasts. Yeah,
Ultra Beasts.
But he just was called UB1. I assume that's like
Ultra Beast 1.
Yeah, but I assume it's like, is that going to be like they're like unknown or whatever, like where it's like a completely unique Pokemon every time or whatever? I don't know. Or like it's one type of Pokemon. It's one Pokemon, but there's like different versions of that one Pokemon, you know. That could be what it is.
Yeah.
Or, but what I was thinking was more the, that weird was it Jumango or whatever it is? Like
Jumanji?
Jumanji, yeah. But it just looks like a Pokemon. Like where it just looks like the Pokemon should look like a thing, and you take one and you add a thing to it. You know, like that's that easy. Squirtle, it's a turtle. It squirts. Charmander, he's a lizard, and he's got fire on his tail. That easy. Bulbasaur, he's a dinosaur.
You're just a plant
that has a plant on his back.
What do you even do?
Like they ran, like when they started, especially the legendaries. The legendaries were the worst because it's just like, let's just make a fucking thing.
I mean, the first 2 gens had great legendary.
Yeah, because they had recognized
fucking birds, fucking dogs.
Birds, dogs, done.
Done.
Yeah. It's all birds from here on out. But
Yeah.
no, now it's like, that's a bat. I think this is a T-Rex. Like,
Is that a lion?
yeah, it's a lion that eats the sun.
That's
I
a
don't
saber-toothed lion
It's
tiger.
a Bacardi logo, and it's a Ford pickup truck with a Chevy on top.
It's a liger. They're highly valued for their magical prowess.
That's it. I don't know. The Pokemon games. I've gotten way off track with Pokemon anyway, but yeah.
I'm still hype as fuck for Sun and Moon, though.
I am. It's the first Pokemon game, but I'm also hype as fuck for I won't ever be able to play because I'm not buying a console. I don't plan on it ever. But Final Fantasy 15 still has me kind of like.
I'm still looking. That's on PC, though, right?
No, it's not doing the PC version.
I thought they were
just
doing
doing
the PC
console.
God
yeah.
damn it. Always. Every time.
Apparently, said it would take too much time because they're Japanese and they don't know how computers work.
Ironic.
Like, yeah, it's weird. Well, I mean, you gotta think like this is the nation that just now discovered Steam exists and it started releasing like 10-year-old games on Steam, and everybody's like, yeah, like Valkyrie Profile. It's like, yeah, there's a cool little turn-based tactics game for you from the PlayStation 2 era. Awesome, you know.
Yeah.
Here's a PSP port. Granted, they are not bad ports. They're doing good up-reses with them, and
Yeah.
Square Enix has been really good lately about their PC version. Well, the IDOS side of Square Enix. Like, you know, when they released Sleeping Dogs, they also released the full-res texture pack along with it.
Yeah.
You know, so they said basically like, hey, here's full-res textures for you that you can add to the game just right off the bat, you know, and like all the ports have been really solid, really good. So, you know, they have somewhere to go with the American side of things is pretty good, but the Japanese side of things, that still is a long way to go. They
Yeah.
canceled the Xbox One version of Kingdom Hearts 3.
I saw that. That was really odd.
Which I didn't even know it was a thing in the first place.
Yeah.
But
Apparently, due to the cancellation, now the PlayStation 1 is set to be on time. Like, what?
I didn't know there was a time frame for it. I just assumed it was like every other Final Fantasy or every other Square
I don't
Enix
fucking
RPG where they announce it and then you don't get it for 10 years. Like,
Right.
you know, like and you still have the Final Fantasy. Like, think about all the shit they've announced that still hasn't come out. Final Fantasy 15, which was Versus 13, which was announced fucking 10 years ago.
Yeah.
You have Kingdom Hearts 3, which everybody assumed should be out by now.
Yeah.
But they just finally got around to announcing it about 3 or 4 years ago. You have that Final Fantasy remake, Final Fantasy VII remake
Yeah.
that's supposed to be coming out. Haven't heard shit about that since they showed that one video that had Advent Children models in it. You know, it's like, you have these models, like, just make the goddamn game already.
Right.
You know, like, and that's the thing too. Like Final Fantasy VII, if you're a Final Fantasy fan, Final Fantasy VII should be your least favorite Final Fantasy at this point because it's the most basic. They went back from what the Super Nintendo Final Fantasies were doing. They went even further back because the whole focus was on the cutscenes and the graphics and all that stuff.
The system fucking worked, though.
Yeah, I mean, it worked, but yeah. And then you have all these games that
speaking of Final Fantasy VII, we went on vacation this weekend to Tennessee, and we went to one of the malls in Gatlinburg, and we came across this shop. It was like some fucking like ethnic guy. Like, it's the only way to describe him. I don't know what race he was.
guy.
Some brown dude. He was running like this knife, sword, airsoft gun shop.
All right.
My kind of fucking shop.
Yep.
And, you know, it's just like had a whole shit ton of like video game based swords and shit. Like, he had fucking like 5 master swords, all different.
Awesome.
Like, a couple of them were like obviously handmade, custom made for like $60, some of them. Fucking actual swords. And
Full
he had,
tang?
I don't fucking know. I didn't look that hard. And it had like one of what's the gun from Final Fantasy 13, the one that Lightning has with the weird trigger.
Yeah.
They had like one of those, and then there was.
Did it have the gun sword from Final Fantasy 8?
They had several gun swords. I don't know about the one from 8.
Okay.
I know they had
Squall.
Dante's sword from Devil May Cry.
Oh, yeah.
And then, like, fucking dominantly, right there in the middle on display, fucking Buster Sword. Like a full-sized goddamn Buster Sword.
Damn.
$150.
It's not bad.
Not bad.
For a display sword of the... yeah.
I mean, it looked fucking solid metal. I mean, this thing was full size, like as tall as me. It was awesome. I fucking wanted it so bad.
Yeah.
I was this close.
Break out the credit cards. Here we go.
We were in the middle of fucking town too, and we were carrying around both our kids. Just have the fucking Buster Sword in the stroller, or carrying it on my back, twirling it, make my ringtone the victory.
Go back and play it and be disappointed and how much it doesn't hold up. Yeah.
Yeah. So I almost bought that. I should have. And then I looked on eBay. I can't find them anywhere near that
I really do want to go through and like pick out like a list, like a top 5 or even top 10 PlayStation 1 era RPGs that are better than Final Fantasy VII. Like, there are a lot. Even the other Final Fantasy games, like Final Fantasy 9, way better than Final Fantasy 7.
I wish I had the time.
I didn't really like
all the way
8 too
through
much
8.
anyway because I didn't like any of the characters in 8, but
I started an 8 campaign because I never did play it.
Mhm.
Or no, it was 9. You're right. It was 9.
even though
9
Chrono
was-
Cross is a terrible sequel to Chrono Trigger, is still a better RPG than Final Fantasy VII.
Really, you think so?
Yeah. I think as an
Was
RPG.
9 the one with the generic Dark Mage character in it?
Yes.
Okay, so I started a 9 campaign, and it's really fucking long, so I never got very far.
I like
in
it because
I
it's
don't
just
have
like
time.
we brought back the guy who did the original character designs for Final Fantasy, and we, made a old school looking Final Fantasy
Yeah.
game, but for the newer console, and I was like, yeah, that's cool. And I think, Thousand Arms, which no one knows about. It's an old Atlas import, back when Atlas was like a really small company, just bringing in Japanese games. That was one of my favorites because it's an RPG, right?
Check this shit
Check
out.
this shit. You're a blacksmith prince.
Oh, shit.
Okay? And there's like blacksmithing in the game.
Black.
But it's not like you don't really do anything.
And your name is Smith.
It's just you're just making weapons, but you have to make the weapons at these particular places, and they're usually after a boss fight.
Right.
But here's the thing: you take girls on dates to get them to like you more because they imbue magical abilities into the weapons that you smith. That's a video game.
And then you imbue it into them.
Yes, of course they don't show you anything. But there's a dating sim element to it. It's really good. I like it.
Pretty good.
I think Legend of Mana is the best. Not only is it the best RPG on the PlayStation 1, it is one of my favorite PlayStation 1 games.
No, I mean, obviously, the best RPG would be one of your favorites. Legend of Mana is good, though. It's really fucking good.
It is it is so fucking deep because there are multiple paths that are entirely dependent on where you place objects on the world. Because there's no world map.
Yeah.
There's a map, and you get these artifacts, and you place the artifacts on the map, and that creates a new area.
Yeah.
But how you place them and where you place them can completely change how the story progresses.
Yeah.
Because you might run out of room and can't place this artifact, and then you don't have access to that world at all. Or you'll get a new artifact different because you went to a different place first, you did certain things at other times, which will lead to different endings, which, because there's 3 or 4 main paths and you get on them as you go through.
Yeah.
You can't get off of them, I don't think, after you've already started it, but you can, once you get on it, you're on that path. And then on top of that, it's you got a farm that grows fruit. That's pretty simple. You know what you use that fruit for? Guess what? You find monster eggs, and you take those eggs and you raise monsters, and you get better stats in those monsters by raising and breeding them together. And you feed them the fruit that you grew.
So it's Chrono Poke Harvest Moon?
Oh, yeah. And then you take the fruit, right, and then you can also use it in the blacksmithing, because guess what? You get a blacksmith shop that you can blacksmith any weapon in the game with any material. You get materials because there's crafting, and you get materials and you craft them and you make specialized weapons that are even better than the shit that you can find. And then on top of all that, you can build a fucking robot. that you can then take those weapons and that you've crafted and put them into the robot. And he fights in the battle, and you can have, so you have yourself, your other party member, your monster, and your robot all fighting on your side, and it's not a turn-based battle system. It is technically a turn-based battle system, but it's more real-time.
Yeah.
In that every movement you do counts as a turn, and they're also taking their turn. So it's like a hybrid, but there's no like stopping the action. The action keeps going. And you have to actually like be in the right position to use certain special attacks. Like if you use the up slash and you're not near anybody, you will miss. But if he's right in front of you, you'll launch him into the air and do a shitload of damage, you know?
Yeah.
Same with magical spells and stuff like that. And then it's just great. It's amazing. It is one of the best games in the PlayStation 1, and it's an underrated and little talked about. Plus, it's got amazing music. Music is top notch in that game. I think it's one of the best games ever made. None of the other Mana series games are anything like that one. They're all weird, strange. Like there's obviously similar design and monsters and stuff like that, but this is the only one that's like that, and it's like, just make this game again. Just make this game and just make it look better or make it high res. I want this game again. I have it. I don't have a physical copy anymore, but I had a physical. I have owned that game like 5 separate times. I don't know how it came into my possession in the first place. It was just like
might have been like a Morrowind thing with me. Like granddad got it.
Yeah, I think I might have borrowed it from my cousin or something like that. And the next thing I know, I'm like, this is the greatest game ever made. You know? And then there was another game that was like that I wish I'd gone back to. I think I did end up going back to it when I got into emulation for a bit with PlayStation, original PlayStation emulation, called Azure Dreams.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of that one.
Yeah, and it's like, at first I didn't know what it was. I just didn't like it and didn't play it, but it turns out it's a roguelike dungeon crawler.
Yeah.
You know, but it's one of those things where it's like, nowadays that's my shit. Back then, I'm like, I don't know what to do in this game. Everything's different every time I go to this tower, you know? And it's also got pentagrams all over the place, and I'm like a weird, vaguely Christian kid that is afraid of things like that. It was around there 2000, so I thought the world was going to end.
And to close it out, one more small topic. Apparently, Dolphin Emulator now has every single GameCube game in its library. It is complete.
Yes, every game boots.
Every game boots. Boots on the ground.
Boots on the ground. Subs in the ocean.
All right, so that's it for the SOGOpod, everybody. This has been Kinder and Frank, your DJs for the evening.
Yes.
Don't forget to go to facebook.com/SOGOpod. Give us a like, whatever, all that. Go to www.SOGOpod.com. That's our website. We do shit there sometimes.
Occasionally.
Twitter @TheSOGOpod. That's fucking Twitter. Duh.
And go to Twitter. Tweet at us.
Other than that, fucking
send us your hot nudes.
Send us nudes. Send us your dick pics. I mean, send us hate mail. Send us love mail.
I want your dicks out for Harambe. Everybody.
Send us Harambe pics.
I want all the Harambe pics.
I mean, send us a fucking monologue on why Harambe was the best gorilla who ever lived.
It's not as good as Magilla Gorilla or Grape Ape. I almost said Rape Ape.
Rape Ape. Live from the Rape Apes. It's Harambe. Good night, everybody. We love you.
Magilla Gorilla for sale. We got a gorilla for sale. Magilla Gorilla for sale. We got a gorilla for sale. Magilla Gorilla for sale. Don't you want a gorilla you could call your own? A little gorilla be with you when you're all alone. We got a gorilla for sale. Magilla Gorilla for sale. We got a gorilla for sale, Magilla Gorilla for sale. Don't you call him a monkey, he don't got no tail. And if he did, then Magilla the monkey would be for sale. With shoes on his feet, suspenders, and a hat on his head. There's not much about our dear little gorilla that hasn't been said. We got a gorilla for sale, Magilla Gorilla for sale, We got a gorilla for sale, Magilla Gorilla for sale, We got a gorilla for sale, Magilla Gorilla for sale,